Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So, hello dear friends, welcome back to NPTEL online course on logistics and supply chain management. So, in the last session we started discussion on international logistics. We talked about what are the stages in international transactions, talking about specifically about the financial transactions, and then in this session we will try to look into what are the various possible options how we can go internationally, right. So, well, I am Dr. Vikas Thakur, Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, IIT Khanpur. So, as I discussed, so we will be talking about in this lecture about the international market penetration strategies. We will see how we can go. Obviously, when we are opting for any of this strategy, there are some pros and cons of this, right. So, somewhere we are more cost efficient, somewhere we are delivering on time, somewhere we are losing control over quality, somewhere we are diluting our ownership. So, these are some of the major points we will discuss when we will go for either exporting, licensing, joint ventures, ownerships, importing or counter trade, right. Then I will just give you a quick highlight of what are the major players if you talk about international logistics market and then in India. And I have included one very small case study. Obviously, for further reading we can go in detail, but here I have included only the small concept. So, these are 6 options we have when we will talk about whether we want to go internationally, right. So, when first question is we discussed in the last session as well, why we are going internationally. Now, this is not we are talking about the backward integration, where we were including our suppliers from international market. This let us focus only about the forward channel and where we are serving the customers. Now, here the point is we want to serve our customers internationally, right. We want to expand the horizon of our business. So, these are all options available, right, how we can go for international market. So, we will try to discuss one by one each strategy and what are the implications for logistics and supply chain management, right. So, if you talk about exporting, it is simple that you are just selling your goods and services from one country, you are selling to other country, right. So, that means here you are not including any intermediator in that. So, this is most simple and least risky method because no other intermediator is involved. So, what you will do when you are exporting, so obviously you will set up your own distribution network, right, and then you will start selling into the foreign market. Let us go quickly about these types of exporting. Direct exporting. Direct exporting sells its products directly to customer in foreign markets without any intermediaries, like I mentioned. This is direct exporting. You are directly interacting with the customer, you have your own fulfillment centers, you have your retail shops and you have maybe you are providing the doorstep delivery as well, right. So, you are completely working alone. So, then indirect exporting, then what we are doing here, we have some trading companies, agents or distributors or local courier partners who are delivering our services. Let us say if I am selling some products in UK market. So, I may be having one distribution or order fulfillment center in UK. From there we will be sorting or doing the cross docking, and that cross docking will be done using some local partner, right, who is already well established in that market. In that way maybe we want to avoid right now our investment in expanding the distribution network as well in that, because setting up that delivery channel also requires resources. In that way it can be, we will see what are the challenges, what are the pros and cons of exporting. So, let us first talk about quickly the benefits. Market diversification, obviously earlier you were having one market in one country, now you are having access to so many other markets, right. You are going to market 1, 2, 3, so diversification is there. Competitive advantage, already I told you. Let us take one other example. If I am promoting, or as a customer I want credit card, right. So, if any company or bank is coming to me and saying that this is one credit card, you can use this credit card for anything, for purchasing any type of goods or services or anywhere in the world, right. So, that means is something they are providing us the one stop solution. I need not to care about the exchange rates, I need not to care about I need not to go to the bank, I need not to submit all those letters and then NOCs are required and all documentation to make those transactions. How easy that life would be, you just imagine. One single card, right, right way I am swiping that card here in India or using the same card in same way in some other country. So, you just imagine how it will provide the competitive edge, right. Then economies of scale, because earlier I was supplying products to market 1. So, let us say in Indian market my share is somewhere saturated. So, let us say now I have seen the growth period, but over the time now it is saturated or moving like this. I want some maybe economies of scale, maybe I want to increase the capacity so that I can utilize all the resources, I can explore the market potential in the foreign markets. So, then economies of scale can be utilized. Obviously, when you are increasing your sales growth, so then revenue growth will be there, right. But what are the challenges? Market entry barriers. So, obviously, when you are going international market, first is the local restrictions, regulatory authority restrictions, right, or trade restrictions you can say. They have different tax structure, they have different legal structure, tariffs. So, all those things you need to take care, that is the first basic point for you need to address. This is a very big entry barrier. You need to understand the local structure, legal as well as somewhere ethical structure as well, right. Then logistics challenges. Now, because you are directly exporting, so there will be logistics challenges. If you talk about India, if you are coming to India, geographically it is widespread. So, if you are a foreign player, you do not have expertise, how you can just imagine starting business in India and then you covering the hilly areas from north to maybe the south, and maybe the infrastructure parameters are also different. Somewhere you will get the train facility, somewhere you have to go by a road, somewhere you can use the ship facility, right. So, that also we discussed about what are the restrictions on those infrastructure constraints are there, right. So, that is again very important point. So, this was probably the reason, very basic reason why Hero and Honda, they come together and they made a kind of joint venture, right, because Honda was having technology and Hero was having that supply chain distribution network for cycles. Now, they thought that we can exploit this distribution network and we can exploit this technology of Honda and we can do fairly well in somewhere in other market which the Hero is not right now, and we can go into your fuel based two wheeler, right. So, then they explored Hero Honda, but then after their breakup, so then now you can see Hero is going separately, Honda is going separately, because Honda got the knowledge for that time, they acquired the knowledge of Indian market, they started setting up their own centers, service centers, they got enough knowledge of this industry. But on the other hand, if you talk about Hero, they also got the knowledge how two wheeler industry works. So, now they are competing with each other, right. So, this means logistics challenges are there. This is one strategy how you can cover those logistics challenges. Financial risk is there because you are exporting there directly. Let us say you opened up a warehouse, maybe capacity of 500 ton, and then somewhere you are utilizing today only 350 capacity, tomorrow maybe 400, or maybe you are thinking of expanding this capacity, or even if you are not thinking and day after tomorrow there is some fluctuation and demand is going down, what you will do with this capacity? This is one distribution center. What you will do with the logistics network, right? The whole chain. So that risk is always there. You are investing into that, that risk is there. Currency exchange, I told you, if you are selling for 1 euro, you were getting earlier 100 rupees. Now you are selling 1 euro, maybe the currency, this currency appreciated, rupee appreciated, now you are getting only 95 rupees, right? So that also currency exchange rate you need to take care. Then we need to take care of legal and regulatory compliance, the intellectual property rights, who is having the intellectual property rights, so that also you need to take care. And then obviously cultural and language barriers are there when you are going overseas, so that you can avoid by using local indirect exporting, right, where you are including some more players and maybe the local courier partners who are doing delivery on your behalf, right. So these are some of the exporting examples. You can see Tata Motors. So Tata Motor exports its vehicle to various international markets including South Africa, Europe and Southeast Asia, right. This is how they have set up their vast network. Bajaj Auto, so they started exporting motorcycles and 3-wheelers or other commercial vehicles. They are exporting to more than 70 countries worldwide. Talking about Infosys, they are providing the IT software solutions, right, and across the globe including North America, Europe and Asia Pacific. So these are some of the examples of exporting right now from Indian market what we are doing. This is another strategy, licensing. So what we can do is, licensor may provide you the licensee with the rights that they can use their strategy, their recipe to produce the product and services, or maybe to sell the product or services, right. So you can acquire that intellectual property such as your trademarks, patents, copyrights or proprietary technology you can use. Now when we are going for these kind of licensing or franchisee kind of system, see, KFC started their restaurant. So let's say they are only working in US, or McD, they are working only in US, right. But setting up their distribution center all over the world, it's not one night work, right. It may take long time. And then if you are not aware about the foreign markets, Asian market, European market, other markets, so then it is very difficult and will take so long to understand each market individually. Let's not take that headache and we'll give it to some local vendors. We'll share with them our resources, our trademark, our recipe, our raw material, our technology, so that they can produce similar kind of product in the same quality, right. And in that way we can grow our brand image as well. So McD, let's say you are coming here in India, we have McD. You are going in Europe, you have McD options, right. So anywhere in the world you are going, same store you are looking, you feel more comfortable, okay, this is my store, right. So you feel connected as a customer. So this is one point you can increase your brand image. What are different types of licensing? Trademark licensing, where you can use McD brand name, their logo or product and services they are selling, right. So in your regional market. Patent licensing is you can use the patented technology or any invention done by them, like I talked about the recipe, secret recipe, you can use that. Copyright licensing, sometimes the literary work or music, artwork or software you can use, like the English movie, Hollywood movie, you can dub in Hindi directly, or you can make the sequel or maybe kind of the same story concept, you can again use that with the permission, right, copyright licensing. Franchising is another option where you get the right to operate in the same area, in the same business with the same brand name and model name and operating procedures, right. So obviously again market expansion is one benefit which you are going for. Risk mitigation. Now if you are coming with your burger and you are saying it is better than McD, who will admit your this claim as a customer? if you are saying that. But if you are making the same burger, but you are putting name as McD, obviously everyone will come to that. They know that much quality or minimum level will be maintained, right. So, low capital investment is required, because that building up that brand image, marketing, that is already done. This brand is known for, right. So, that much is not there. Quickly you can start generating the revenue. Brand exposure to foreign markets will be there. Brand will be more highlighted, and you as a stakeholder of that brand, because now you are also carrying that brand, you got the license to reuse that brand. So, that you will be getting the visibility as well. What are the challenges? Because now you, on behalf of McD, someone else is using the same recipe, kind of same raw material, but you do not have direct control over the quality. What you can promise in your outlet, same obviously your all the stakeholders, partners cannot promise, right. So, there is no direct control over quality. Intellectual property protection can be some way, can terms in terms of competitive risk, because today whatever maybe he is your stakeholder, tomorrow he can be your competitor as well. And because now Honda knows about the Indian market, so they can compete with Hero. They know the supply chain role of distribution network, services center in India. So, where they need to locate strategic locations, they have all data with them, right. So, once who are partner, the maybe after some time they can be competitors. And then you have dependency on licenses, because you cannot make changes in that whatever is documented, and then if you are serving in the foreign market, you want to move, even the licensor want to move, he cannot move without the permission of the licensee, because already you have given permission to someone else to operate in the other market. So, legal and contractual risks are also there. So, negotiation, drafting and enforcement to protect the interest of both the licensors and licensees. So, it is important, right. Otherwise, in the end split will be very difficult, right. Like Hero Honda, they also struggled while they were splitting, separating, right. But if it is properly documented, then you will be having in the end proper idea how much control the one will be having of the other. So, licensing example, if you see Amul, they are selling their Amul branded products into so many different market, 20 countries, you can just see the list is huge, and still they are maintaining the product quality and standards, because they have the license agreements, and they are also training their partners how they can deliver the quality products. ITC Limited, for these brand Ashirwad, Sunfeast and Bingo, they are partnering with the manufacturing and distribution. So, they are only using manufacturing and distribution chain. So, they are moving their own product, manufacturing the product, and then they are using the third vendor. Fab India is another organization which is working on this, and they licenses its brand for retail operations in several countries, and local partners to establish and operate Fab India stores abroad, right. So, this is how you can get the quick access through your licensing system in the foreign market. So, next talking about the next option is joint venture. So, I told you Hero Honda joint venture, Maruti Suzuki joint venture, where you are coming to some foreign market and you are exploring the third market where you are not existingly you are operating, right. So, even if you are operating existingly, so even then you can go for updated technology, or somewhere you can leverage some resources from that company who is coming for joint venture. So, then in that way you can understand. In terms of joint venture, if you see equity joint venture, so partners, they can contribute as capital and resources to establish a new legal entity, right, which can be any limited company, and then they hold the ownership stake, and they have fixed share in profits, risks and control, right, how much they can control. Contractual joint venture like Hero Honda, this is for specific period of time. If they will survive after that also, they can continue, but yes, you need to define the termination provisions as well in that. So, that is a point in contractual joint venture. Maruti Suzuki is not contractual joint venture. If you talk about Hero Honda was your contractual joint venture. Now, risk sharing, because now two companies are operating, one is local, one may be foreign player, you can share your risk. Access to resources, Hero is having access to Honda technology Honda Technology is having resources to Hero manufacturing sites, manufacturing facilities, and their distribution by distribution network. Easy market entry because already Indian player is there. Cost efficiency will be there. You need not to make that big huge investment to set up your distribution network. Risk diversification because now two players are involved and they have some knowledge about the local market. So that way you can diversify the risk. Cultural challenges, like if you talk about Walmart acquired 80% share in Flipkart, and Walmart is something, if you read the story about Walmart, the organization which is notorious for handling the workers and their worker related policies. They are customer focused. Worker related policies are in big questions, but their customer is their god, like that. So this is how they are promising. So you might have heard about the big tragedy that happened in Pakistan at Rana Plaza building. So many workers died, but Walmart refused to pay compensation to them, and in that way their guidelines are very strict. You cannot be part of any union, otherwise you will be simplified. But now Flipkart started in India by Indians. So how it will take over, how policies will merge, another cultural difference will be there. So that is obviously strategic alignment. Again, you need to align Walmart with Flipkart. A very other example is Tata Nano plant, which is always very good example. They started in West Bengal, Singrauli, right? But because of farmer agitation and all that, they acquired that land in a proper way, right? They followed all the procedure policies. They started investing 1,000 crore they invested. They came up with the infrastructure, all that, and then farmers started agitation about that we are losing our land, we are losing the climate, this, that, everything started happening. But now Tata, because if you have seen the Tata ad, they say that our values are stronger than our steels. If you talk about their steel, their values are more stronger than steel. This is the promise they are making. So Tata simply said that they step back, that we don't want to make any profit, any business on the stake of the farmers' interest, right? So they withdrew, simple. But imagine if there is some other player. So obviously then it is not in the hands of Tata only. So if two companies are coming together, that easy decision making will not be there, right? So this is the point I wanted to make. Control and governance. So joint ventures, you need to clearly mention how much control one is having. Obviously now Walmart is claiming 80% stake, so is having the authority with them. But in joint venture where you are having almost equal share, you are sharing equally resources, so decision making powers will be equally distributed, and how will dispute resolution will happen, right? That also you need to take care. Intellectual property protection. So obviously when two players are coming, so confidentiality and ownership, protection of intellectual assets. So that secret recipe of Honda is no longer secret for Hero, right? Because they are partner somehow, so they know the technology. Now the best thing is they know the technology of Honda, they can again renovate the same technology and come up with more strong promises, right, in the market. So exit strategy, because it is joint venture, maybe contractual, so you need to decide how the dissolution, divestment or buyout will happen in the end, right? So if you talk about joint ventures, Mahindra and Mahindra joint venture with Mahindra Sustain, so a subsidiary of Mahindra and Mahindra, and for renewable energy sector worldwide they have done this. If you talk about Hindustan Unilever Limited, right, so they have joint venture with Unilever for personal care and home care products, right. Reliance Industries, again joint venture with global energy companies for exploration, production and refining operation in various countries including United States and other countries, right. So these are some of the examples of joint venture where two companies are coming together sharing almost equal part. Ownership is actually the reverse of that, where one is taking the ownership of other. So acquiring, it is kind of acquisition. So what will happen overnight? So like what happened with the Ranbaxy, Now same thing happened with Flipkart as well. When Walmart is saying that 80% stake is gone, that means ownership is gone. Now decision making power is with Walmart, right? So ownership encompasses the right to use, manage, transfer and dispose of assets in their way, right? So they can make the decisions. So how you can go? Wholly owned subsidiaries, 100% your share, and then you will be having control of everything, right? Decision making, management. So Walmart can control the Flipkart operation in India, right? How they want to set up the location, whatever their earlier culture, ethical considerations were there, but now because 100% stake, it is not there 100%, but if you have owned 100%, so then you have full control over that. Equity investment, if you are having part of that investment, then you gain the access to their markets, customers, technology and distribution channels, right? So equity investments provide a minority or majority ownership position in target company, offering opportunities for collaboration, integration and value creation. Franchising, another option where you can include the third party, granting them the license kind of thing, and they will start operating under your company brand name. You can use the intellectual property, right? Acquisition is involving purchasing the existing business assets or subsidiaries. So in that way you can go for either forward integration or backward integration, right? So you can acquire or your suppliers or your distributors as well. In that way also it can happen. So when you are acquiring 100%, you have control, you can control the policies, market present and access, obviously. So Walmart, very tough competitor with the Amazon, both are coming from US. So in Indian market, why Amazon should be there alone? So Walmart came and they came strongly with Flipkart, right? So knowledge transfer will be there, obviously. From one organization, Flipkart, you are sharing the knowledge how they were operating, and from Walmart you can get, because Walmart is the world largest retailer, right? In terms of employer, if you talk about, third largest employer in the world. This is the strength of Walmart. Risk management, obviously you can do in better way because now you are in broader picture. What are challenges? Capital requirements will be there, obviously. Regulatory compliance, already we talked about, right? Cultural differences, Walmart versus Flipkart, best case to understand cultural differences, right? So how the customers will take, Indian customers will take, especially when we are saying that vocal for local, and then so many different campaigns we are coming up with to protect our local vendors, right? Local suppliers. So, but yes, that way it will not work, I think, because it's the complete whole world is one market, right? So integration challenges are there because both are coming from two different backgrounds, right? Political and economic risk. Right now maybe Walmart is seeking as very good opportunity. Walmart tried venturing with your Bharti Airtel as well earlier, but they failed, right? But now they came up with the Flipkart, who is doing fairly well, having more than 60%, almost 60% in some markets, and major stake in e-commerce industry if you talk about, right? So obviously inflation, recession, exchange rate fluctuations, those risks are always there. If you talk about ownership, Aditya Birla acquired Novelis and became the aluminum rolling and recycling giant in that industry. Tata Steel, very famous deal you might remember, Chorus Group, and became the largest player globally. Dr. Reddy Laboratory acquired select business divisions and manufacturing facilities in multinational companies, right? So let's talk about importing. Here you are bringing the goods or services to your country from some foreign distributor, right? So just purchasing the goods. So in that way, product you have more options. Maybe earlier you were also selling in the market, now you have more options in that way. Cost competitiveness, if you are getting cheaper product. Time to market, obviously quickly you will get to the market because you need not to manufacture it. Already someone somewhere in the part of world manufacturing that product, so easily you can introduce in the market. So market expansion you will get, and risk mitigation. If today you need 100 products, you will import 100 products. Tomorrow you need 1000 products, you need 1000 products, and then day after tomorrow if you need only 10 products, you will use only 10 products. So that capacity, whatever you have built, there is no capacity. Some other organization is using, whether you are using this part or this much part or this much part. So, you are not bothering because you are importing that. So, challenges, trade barriers obviously are there, regulatory frameworks, trade restrictions, import duties will be there, supply chain complexity because many players are there, you need to collaborate, coordinate with everyone, you need to make the trade relations. No direct control over the quality of the product because you are not manufacturing, you are just importing that. Currency and financial risk already we talked about. Exchange rate is one major factor which is affecting this, right? Already I discussed with that. Financial volatility and credit risk obviously will be there, unknown players are there, so that risk will be there. Competitive pressure will be there, right? So, many players are there. So, importing example, Walmart is importing worldwide, they are feeding their suppliers large order, this is how they are negotiating. Amazon India is also partnering with global players to provide you a diverse range of products. Apple India, talking about Indian market only, they are importing all the products like iPhone, iPads, MacBooks to Indian market and selling through the their authorized distributor. Counter trade is something which will avoid your, usually we can see it as a very good viable option when you want to avoid the financial transaction. What will do, two companies will be there, one is saying that I am producing worth 1000 rupees goods and you are producing worth 1000 rupees goods. We will not deal in financially, this is a kind of barter system, you give me your products, I will give you your products, right. So, that way we can remove all the intermediaries, somehow we can remove all those documentation and exchange rates, all the stakeholders we talked about, currency transactions and all that, banks and the role of all those agents will be eliminated. In that way counter trade is preferred, right. So, it involves reciprocal trade agreements between trading partners, encompasses various forms of trade agreements widely used in international trade, and not only private firms are, so government organizations are also using this kind of strategy, which is obviously to cut down the cost. Again, those all advantages are there. If you are doing that, advantages are there, but what about the challenges? One major challenge is to fix that these many goods are equal to these many goods coming from you. So, to evaluate, to equate that 1000 rupees goods in your industry, 1000 rupees goods in my industry, this is a big challenge. And then maybe I am selling you a kind of product which can be easily packed, which can be easily transported and like that, and easily stored, no special cold storage is required, warehouse handling is required, that kind of product is there. But you are sending me 1000 rupees product which requires very special attention, special handling, cold storage and packaging is difficult and expiry dates are coming, then it is very difficult to negotiate. So, that complexity is there, negotiation with those partners is difficult, but once you will clear the things, maybe you can include those transaction cost and logistics cost. So, then it will be fair, good for both the parties, will be win-win situations, right. Already I talked about transaction cost may be different for two players, right. Not only transaction, the legal fees and the the local framework requirements, trade requirements may be different for these two different industries. Then operational risk will be there, delivery delays, inventory management challenges, all those things will be there, and because you are equating goods with goods, so if delivery is delayed at one end, obviously the other end will suffer. So, somehow we can say financial risk, that fluctuating exchange rates still you can manage because there is no real currency involved. So, that way you can manage, right, in a better way if I compare with other models. So, counter trade example, if you see Indian Oil Corporation, they are importing the crude oil from Saudi Arabia and selling them agriculture products and infrastructure development, they are involved in those kind of products. ONGC with their Videsh Limited scheme, they are also oil and natural gas corporation, they are also offering so many technical expertise and investment, and in turns they are exchanging the energy resources. So, this is how these trade partners are working. You can see FedEx, and Rider, Expo Logistics, UPS, United your Parcel Services, DHL. These are major companies carrying maximum share. Talking about Indian Logistics, Blue Dart, Gutty, and FedEx, and Mahindra Logistics. All these Gutty, KWE. So these are the some big players, and delivery. You might be very aware about these because they are making the deliveries and courier partners with the earlier they were with the Amazon and Flipkart as well. Now they are, I think they are doing eBay or some other players, Meesho and all. This is very small case study, quickly we'll go through. During COVID-19, Peru, they faced this, obviously each country they faced sudden rise in the demand of medical devices. But this I have taken special this case on shipment of syringe from China to Peru, right. So because to successfully run the vaccination program, they need the continuous supply of syringes, right. But logistic congestion caused by transportation restrictions and obviously shutdown operations were there, everything was banned. So how we can ensure that? So then they planned some strategy. So how we can go for within just 48 hours from Shanghai to Peru, how we can deliver the syringes. So you can go through the detailed case, but here I will just talk about the solution. They contacted with the charter flights, and then they worked out what is the passenger area required in each flight. So whatever area is left out, they started tapping that area, and they started transporting the syringes using that unused area. So a total of 8 air charters and part charters were made from southern China, where this factory was located, to Peru. And you can see from Shanghai, Alaska, Los Angeles, Mexico, and Lima route. This is how they had to pick this difficult route because the slots were not available, and their continuous supply from Shanghai to Peru was required of syringes, right. So result is that after evaluating different options that allowed us to comply with the timing established by client and maintain a reasonable transport cost, the result was success, and the syringes arrived on time every month to complete the different phases of vaccination campaign in Peru, right. So see, this international trade, we spent a couple of sessions on this, but is very important because no business in these days is a kind of, you can say, local business, right. So when you are saying your promises are that you exist overseas, as a customer I will always feel that more comfort, right. I'm taking those brands which are internationally available. So anywhere if I'll go, I'll get the services. That kind of familiarity is there. So, but the challenge is huge in terms of so many stakeholders are involved. Then we talked about in that video that how Amazon Global Logistics as partner can solve your problems. The other problem was the transactions, how Amazon Wallet can help you, to reduce the cost of the transactions among the multiple vendors, stakeholders involved that. So this is how we can conclude this, that international logistics is very important part these days of e-commerce players when you are sourcing your products from different locations and you are finding your customers in different locations. So these are the references and textbooks you can refer for detailed content, and the case is also included there. So thank you very much. That's all from my side.